Hello. Today I'm going to be demonstrating an app called Ruthless Launcher. You can tell by the name it's a launcher. And for those of you who don't know what that means, this is basically an app that will replace your home screen and app drawer. So if there's anything you don't like about the default setup on your phone, that's something you can change with a third-party launcher. This is actually my favorite launcher. It's definitely not the most feature-complete launcher out there, but that's kind of what I like about it. It's simple, it gets the job done, and it also supports talkback actions, which makes customizing it a lot easier. One thing I do want to mention though is that this app has not been updated in over a year, so if that's something that concerns you, just be aware of that. Me personally, it doesn't bother me at all. It works perfectly fine, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's usually my stance on things. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to set it as your default. So I've just downloaded it. I haven't even opened it yet. I'm going to go into settings.
Settings. Profile picture. Double tap to open Google account button.
Now I'm going to look for apps.
Network and internet, mobile, Wi-Fi, hotspot. Search settings. Connected devices, Bluetooth, pairing. Apps, assistant, recent apps, default apps.
You're going to go here.
Apps. Navigate up, button.
Look for default apps.
General, heading. See all 197 apps. Default apps, Chrome, phone, and messages.
Go here.
Default apps. Navigate up, button.
Find home app.
Phone app, phone. Settings, button. Home app, Pixel Launcher. Default home app. Navigate up, button.
And change this from Pixel to Ruthless.
Selected, radio button, Pixel Launcher. Not selected, radio button, Ruthless Launcher. Selected. Welcome. Ruthless is a completely free application with no advertisements, hence no revenue is generated by it. If you like this application and want regular updates, then kindly contribute in its development by donating.
So when I set it as the default, it opened it, and because I've not opened it yet, it got a message asking me to donate since it's a free app. You can just back out of this and it won't bother you again.
Ruthless. Assistant at a glance.
So now we're on the home screen, and I'm just going to show you what's here by default. The at a glance is at the top.
Monday, July 31st. Partly cloudy, 84. Apps list.
I have no icons on my home screen. There's just dock icons. So the next item when I swiped was the apps list icon, which is right in the center of the screen above the dock. So then I'm going to swipe again. That's going to take me down to the dock.
Phone. Messages. Play Store. Chrome. Camera. Unlabeled, button.
And this unlabeled button, I think, is part of the Google search bar at the bottom. And that's everything that's here by default. I'm going to show you how to add something to the home screen. So you can press that apps list button that I mentioned that's above the dock, or you can just swipe up with two fingers, which I'm going to do.
Search apps, edit box.
I'm just going to search for an app here. Type Facebook. Now there should just be one result here.
Facebook.
Now I'm going to swipe through all the actions just so you can see what they are. I'm going to swipe down.
Shortcuts. Uninstall. Add to home screen. Activate.
So those are all four actions. I'm going to swipe back up to add to home screen.
Add to home screen. Item added to home screen. Assistant at a glance.
I'm going to add a couple more real quick.
Search apps, edit box.
Type Netflix.
Netflix. Add to home screen. Item added to home screen. Search apps, edit box.
Type YouTube.
YouTube. Add to home screen. Item added to home screen. Assistant at a glance. Monday, July 31st. Partly cloudy, 84 degrees. Facebook.
So I'm just going to swipe through items here. Have Facebook,
Netflix. YouTube.
Netflix, and YouTube.
Apps list.
And the next is apps list because that's all that's on my home screen. Now I'm going to show you how to make a folder.
YouTube.
So I'm back on YouTube. I'm going to show you what all the actions are here.
Shortcuts. Remove. Move item. Activate. Shortcuts. Remove. Move item.
So I'm going to go to move item.
Action. Create folder with Facebook.
And then you can either create a folder.
Create folder with Netflix. Move to row 2 column 3.
Or move it to a different spot.
Move to row 2 column 4.
So I'm just going to create a folder.
Move to row 2 column. Create folder with Netflix. Folder created. Folder.
So it's just called folder, but if you open it,
Netflix. YouTube. Unnamed folder. Edit box.
You can tap here.
Unnamed
and
folder. Back.
Type video.
Video. End of field. Done. YouTube. Keyboard hidden.
Now if I back out of it,
Folder closed. Folder. Video.
you'll see it's called video. So I'm going to show you how to add a widget to the home screen. So if I swipe right from this folder, I'm going to go to the apps list button.
Apps list.
And this is important because you can't put the home screen itself in focus like you can on the Pixel Launcher, which in my opinion is a good thing. This is where you would go to get those actions. So with the apps list button in focus, these are the actions.
Wallpapers. Widgets. Home settings.
So that's how you get to these things. I'm going to go to widgets.
Widgets. Acapella TTS voices. Amazon Alexa, 1 wide by 1 high.
So I'm going to add this to the home screen, just show you how.
Add to home screen.
Again, these are actions. I swiped up.
Item added to home screen.
And I'm still here, so if I wanted to continue adding widgets, I could just keep going through this list. But as far as I know, I don't think there's a way to search for a specific widget. So I'm going to show you a second way to add widgets. I'm going to go back home.
Assistant at a glance.
Swipe up with 2 fingers.
Search apps. Edit box.
So now I'm on the apps list. Type Pocket Casts.
Pocket casts.
So now I've found Pocket Casts in my apps list, and if I go through the actions,
Shortcuts.
find shortcuts.
Shortcuts. Podcasts. Search. Up next. App info. Widgets.
I'm going to swipe through.
Podcasts. Search. Up next. App info. Button. Widgets. Button.
Double tap there.
Pocket casts widgets. Touch and hold to pick up a widget.
So you can double tap and hold to move this to the home screen if you want to, but I'm using all actions in this demo.
5 wide by 1 high. Pocket casts. Add to home screen. Item added to home screen.
Now that's on the home screen. I'm going to go to the home screen.
Assistant at a glance.
So here it is on the home screen.
Pocket casts.
And now I'm going to show you what the actions are for widgets.
Remove. Move item. Resize. Activate.
So I'm going to resize this.
Remove. Move item. Resize. Resize. Decrease width.
As you can see, my only option
Resize. Decrease width.
is decrease width because it's already the width of the screen. So I'm just going to do that.
Widget resize to width 4 height 1. Ruthless. Pocket casts.
And now I'm going to show you how to move items to another screen.
Remove. Move item.
Again, I'm using actions.
Action. Move to row 3 column 1.
Now, I'm going to swipe to the left with 2 fingers to go to the next page.
New home screen page. Move to row 3 column 2. Move to row 1 column 2. Move to row 1 column 1.
I'll put it here.
Item moved. Pocket casts.
So now I have 2 pages, and I'm going to show you how it behaves when you have multiple pages. So if I swipe left, since I'm on the first item on the second page,
Home screen 1 of 2. Ask Alexa.
that scrolled the page to the first page and went to the last item on the first page. So if you're swiping through your items, it will turn the page rather than go down to the dock or the apps list button. Of course, you could also scroll the page just by swiping with 2 fingers or by doing the scroll gesture that you have in TalkBack. Now that I've showed you the basics of customizing your home screen, I'm going to go through some of the settings with you. Now to get to the settings, again, you put that apps list button in focus. It's kind of a small target, so what I usually do is I put my dock in focus.
Messages.
And I swipe left.
Phone. Apps list.
Until it gets to apps list. And from here, you can swipe up using actions.
Home settings.
Go to settings.
Ruthless settings. Navigate up. Button.
Now keep in mind, you can also assign this to your home screen as an icon. Just find Ruthless settings in the app drawer and add that to your home screen.
Home settings.
So here's what we have.
More options. Button. Notification dots. Notification access needed.
So this is where you would go if you want to have notification dots, which means if you highlight an app that has notifications, after TalkBack reads the name of the app, it will tell you how many missed notifications you have from that app. But obviously, in order to do that, you have to give Ruthless Launcher permission to access your notifications. Next we have
styles, grid, icon pack, accent, and more.
So I won't open this up, but I'll just touch on what you might want to go in here to customize. While you don't care what the icons look like, you probably do care how many there are. So this is where you would go to change the grid size, meaning how many rows and columns of icons you have. Next we have
home screen, news feed, margin, and more.
So I will open this section.
Home screen. Navigate up, button. Home screen. More option. General, heading. News feed, disabled.
So this is going to be if you want to add a Google feed to the left of your home screen, like the Pixel Launcher has.
Get news feed, on left of home screen. At a glance, at the top of your home screen, on, switch.
So this is the at a glance. This is where you can choose whether to have that there or not. I like to disable this.
Allow home screen rotation. When phone is rotated, off, switch.
Self-explanatory.
Customization, heading. Show numeric badges, off, switch.
Now this is simply a visual setting. Whether this is on or off, TalkBack will still read to you how many unread notifications you have from each app if you've enabled that.
Enable infinite scrolling, off, switch. Fade page transition, on, switch. Show icon label, on, switch. Allow 2 lines label, off, switch. Show status bar, on, switch.
So these are just a couple of the settings. I won't go through every setting. You can explore for yourself. So I'll back out of this section.
Ruthless settings. Home screen, news feed, margin, and more. Dock, search widget, icons, and more.
Go in here.
Dock. Navigate up, button. Dock. More options, button. General, heading. Show search bar, on, switch.
So this is whether you want the Google search bar at the bottom, under your dock.
Search bar icon, monochrome icon. Search widget, default.
This is interesting. So you could change the widget from Google search to a lot of different widgets. For example, Pocket Casts is one of the ones it supports. So if you're always listening to podcasts and you want those controls to always be at the bottom of the screen, home screen below the dock, where the Google search bar usually is, you can put that there. So you can replace the Google search widget with another widget or completely remove it if you want to.
Show assistant icon, off, switch. Show dock icons, on, switch.
This is whether you want a dock or not.
Enable 2-row dock, off, switch.
If you want a 2-row dock.
Search provider, default.
You could change the search provider if you don't want to use Google.
Dock height, 0%. 0%, slider. Show label inside folder, on, switch. Disabling a entry will hide the component or disable its functionality.
And that's everything in this section.
Ruthless settings. Dock, search widget, icons, and more. App drawer, background opacity, text color, and more.
And this is where you would go to customize the app drawer in a similar way that we customized or went through the customization settings for the home screen earlier.
Gestures, swipe down, long press, and more.
Let's see what's in here because this is interesting.
Gestures. Navigate up, button. Gestures. More options, button. General, heading. Swipe down 1 finger, open notifications panel.
So, of course, for us using TalkBack, that's a 2-finger swipe down. You can change this if you want. Obviously, by default, it brings down the notification panel. Just to be clear, this is a 2-finger swipe down from the center of the screen. So if you were to swipe down with 2 fingers from the very top, it would still bring down the notification shade, even if you have this assigned to something else.
Swipe down 2 fingers, open quick settings panel.
This doesn't really apply to us because if you have TalkBack enabled, the only way to use this would be to do a pass-through gesture. So I guess if you wanted to, you could do that.
Home button, nothing.
Home button. This is if you want. I'm going to show you a couple of options.
Home button. Checked, nothing. Quick search. Voice search. Open app drawer.
So for example, if you want it to go to the app drawer if you're already on the home screen, then you could change this.
Gestures. Home button, open app drawer.
So this only applies to the home button when you're already on the home screen. And it also applies to TalkBack's home gesture. So if you've gone home and then you press home again, either by pressing the navigation button or by swiping up with 2 fingers from the bottom of the screen, Or if you do TalkBack's gesture, which by default is to swipe up and left, then that will take you to the app drawer now.
Long press, open pop-up menu.
This is for long pressing on an empty spot of the home screen. So again, you'd have to use path-through to do this.
Double tap, lock using screen timeout.
This is something that does not apply to TalkBack users.
Lock gestures require their respective permissions by the user to perform their actions.
That's everything in here. I'm going to back out.
Ruthless settings. Gestures, swipe down, long press and more. Backup and restore, backup or restore your setup.
So this is where you would go to manually save a copy of your settings and home screen layout. And I just wanted to point out that you don't need to do this. If you want to have a copy saved somewhere, this is where you would go. But by default, this will save the app data of the app and back it up to your Google account if you have backup turned on. So if you end up factory resetting your phone or get a new phone and you restore from a backup and you pull Ruthless Launcher down from the cloud, the first time you open it, it will already have your home screen set up there and your settings set and everything for you already. So all of that is saved and backed up automatically.
App category, categorize apps in app drawer.
So I think that speaks for itself. This is where you would go to have different tabs for different categories of apps if you want to organize your app drawer a little more.
Secured vault, authenticate app launch through launcher.
And then
About, app info.
So that's all the settings. I'm going to go back home now.
Ruthless. Assistant at a glance. Assistant at a glance. Search apps, edit box.
Then I did the home gesture again just to see, and it took me to my app drawer. So that's working.
Assistant at a glance.
Okay, so that's really a quick walkthrough and demonstration of the app. A couple things I like about it compared to the Pixel Launcher is, I touched on this earlier, is that when you touch an empty part of the home screen, it doesn't do anything. It just lets you
Folder,
keep exploring
ask Alexa.
Until you find something. And when you
Fold,
go from
ask
item
folder,
to
ask
item,
Alexa.
while you're exploring,
Folder, video.
you don't have it touch the home screen between icons and say home every time. That's something that bugs me about the Pixel Launcher. And also the actions on here are a little more appropriate. There's more actions for doing basically everything you want to do. So I have absolutely no complaints about this launcher. I think it's a great launcher and I recommend it. Thank you for listening. Thank you, John, for that wonderful demo. I just wanted to point out now, since somebody kindly pointed out to me that I skipped over one of the settings near the end. It's a way to secure specific apps. I just want to mention it briefly. So if you want to require authentication when you open specific apps, you can do this, and it will be the same authentication you use on your phone. So if you unlock with a PIN or you unlock with a fingerprint, you can require that authentication when you open any app. Just keep in mind that this is only when you open the app from the launcher. So, if it's already open in your recents, or if you, for example, open it from the Play Store or from your phone settings, it won't require the authentication. So if you plan to use this feature, just keep that in mind.
Thank you for that addition and that clarification. So for those of you who would like to use your fingerprint to secure some apps, remember to do that.